Hi, everybody. Hope you're having a great evening. This is Jeanette Bradley coming to you with another episode of What is the Ask? So, what is the ask, you may ask? Got a little caught up in that. It's five friends coming together out of Atlanta and Tampa, two key voting states that talk about issues that are important to Black folks in America. With the election coming up in 2024, November 5th, 2024, to be exact, there's a lot of things that we ought to be talking about. So, the group over the last week or so kind of tapped into the presidential election, and lo and behold, Cornel West has announced that he is running for the presidency of the United States. So, Cornel West is a progressive activist and scholar. So, he's opting or saying that he's running for truth and justice. So he tweeted his announcement on he tweeted his announcement and basically said that he wants to reintroduce America to the best of itself. In his words, in these bleak times, I have decided to run for truth and justice, which takes the form of running for president of the United States as a candidate for the People's Party. He also says, I come from a tradition where I care about you. I care about the quality of your life, whether you have access to a job with a living wage, decent housing, women having control over their bodies, health care for all, the escalating destruction of the planet, and the destruction of, you said it, he said it, American democracy. So he's really got a lot of progressive issues on the table, but I'm curious in that he's not running for neither one of the two major parties. How does this help or hurt the position of the Democratic Party? Any one of you can pick that one up.
Overall, go ahead, Alton. You start.
Well, it shouldn't hurt. It shouldn't hurt the Democratic Party. It shouldn't hurt the Democratic Party. For a long time, we have all been saying we need another party, and if we really think 50%, if not higher, of the Democrats are going to be forced, and if they have an option, these people will go with West. So I think the Democratic Party has to start moving
Okay.
with the
You said
people
it shouldn't
and
hurt.
really bite it.
I hear you saying that it shouldn't hurt the Democratic Party. I'm not sure I'm going with you there, but I'm watching Alton shake his head in affirmation. What say you, Alton?
No, I mean that's a very good point. I mean, I'm gonna forewarn all the listeners. I'm in my general counsel political economist mode. So when I start talking bar graphs, bear with me. But what Mona has described is a marketplace and a political marketplace where we've had two main suppliers of BS, the Democrats and Republicans. Now you got a much smaller supply of BS coming in. And if he can target, going to Mona's point, if he can target, well, he's not going to try and intentionally target Black voters, but he will be speaking to Black issues more so than definitely the Republicans and definitely the Democrats. So if he can pull 25% of Black voters, maybe 30, game over. I mean, that way Blacks can say that we sat out without sitting out, because there's a brother that came up, Democrats didn't give him any love, and we're gonna vote for this guy. We haven't been getting anything from Democrats anyway, so we can show up November 5th, vote, we participated, and then we're gonna go back to what's normal for us and let the two cousins fight it out. Yeah.
And anyway, should we really be worried
Yes.
about whether
Yes.
or not it hurts the Democrats? Should we be thinking in terms of how is it going to help black folk? Isn't that a different position to think about? When we look at the whole process of elections, aren't we supposed to vote our conscience? Aren't we supposed to vote for the candidate who speaks to our needs and our wants? Or are we supposed to vote for only one of two choices? Which is it, Jeanette?
So I didn't jump right into that. So you're absolutely right. We need to vote for the candidate who best represents our
It's
interests.
definitely the first one.
The candidate that, yes, represents black interests. That is true. But there have always been candidates that have represented black interests, black ones. But we don't vote. We don't vote for them. We vote for one of two candidates. And we're at a point where, does anybody hear a lot of feedback, or is it just me?
There is some feedback. There is some feedback.
A
For
lot.
sure.
Okay, so maybe when we're not talking, we can just.
And we're
Okay.
breaking up.
All right, so yeah, I agree with you, Albert, that we need to vote for our interests. But I gotta wonder, what is our interest today, given the climate? Is it in our best interest to divert the vote from the one of the two big, larger parties in a time where, and I'm going to go with it, y'all can attack it, democracy is on the line?
Oh.
And if democracy is on the line, wait a minute. If democracy is on the line, are we saying we're willing to forego it and let it go?
How
But-
is democracy on the line, Alden? Explain that, please. Make me understand.
I'm trying to understand that too, because ever since the man sitting up at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue has been coming up with this, we're gonna save our democracy. How can you save something that doesn't exist? America is not a democracy. I'm not saying that disparagingly. I'm saying that based on what's in here. And there makes no mention in this Constitution of these United States that the state intended for the government to implement a democracy. And we don't want a democracy. Like I said 2 weeks ago, democracy will take black people out because it means one man, one vote. And the last time I checked, our Caucasian neighbors were still the majority. And then the people that they converted into ASP, your Irish and your Italians and your Jews, they just add to that number of Anglos. We're outnumbered. You don't want a democracy. But, so where does Wes's campaign put it? Doesn't do anything for democracy. It doesn't introduce democracy. He shouldn't use the word. When he talks about democracy, I just write him off. Yeah, and I say entertaining. I love the way he brands himself, the fro, the gray, the white and black, and he preaches when he's talking, and he can tie everything together in his world. But when you say democracy, you're telling me you don't know anything about your government, and he's been on this planet for 70 years and a couple of weeks.
So America never has achieved democracy. That is true. Even though we thought we had it, most of us, the masses did, we never achieved democracy. I got that. But who's to say that we can't? Can we?
Let me let somebody else jump in first.
You use your history as a guidepost. They've been doing it this way for so long. Why would they need to change?
Right.
You see, there's not a reason for them to make any different movement.
Because they
were saying at the time, democracy.
Go ahead, Mona. Say it again, Mona.
Mm-hmm.
Mona, can you hear me?
Yeah, I was looking at when you said democracy I was thinking about democracy a little different when you mentioned it. No, it's not going to change. And I can hear you. You can't hear me?
Yeah,
I can hear you. You
we
can't hear
can hear you.
me?
Yes. Yes. We can hear you.
Go to the next person.
Okay.
So the issue is you got a Ford and you got a Chevrolet company, and they don't want competition.
Mhm.
So what they try to do is rig the election so that no other car dealership can give you a bigger or better car.
Right.
And so everything that they do, in fact, it's so rigged, Jeanette, that the Democrats and the Republicans make the rules so that third party, fourth parties make it very difficult for them to even get on the ballot all over the United States.
Right.
So even if they have a Cornel West who has been consistent in his message for I don't know how long, even if he is able to get into 5 states, 6 states, the best he can do is siphon a handful of votes away from both the Chevrolet and the Ford.
Hmm.
But in the final analysis, they're both going to turn together and they're going to have a private meeting the same way the NBA owners do, the same way the NFL owners do, and they're going to put this conglomeration together that says, here is how we keep everybody else out of the game.
Right.
That's why, as Alton says, this is not a democracy. Because if it were, in some countries, they will have 4 and 5 and 6 parties in the government. And they have to make concessions with these parties before laws can be passed in these different governments. And it's designed so that it is fairer than America.
But do you think we're moving in that direction, given the
Who?
fact that, well, I'm gonna ask the question. So, you think we might be moving in that direction, given the implosion um, the American government has taken over the last, I would say, 4, 5, 6 years? Are we moving in the direction that it is plausible that there
Hmm.
could be four different candidates running, two in the independent segment, Republican, and then Democrat?
No.
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 No. No.
The reason I say no is I can think back to conversations that I've had with blacks who make everyone here look like conservative Republicans. I mean, these guys are so progressive, and even they don't want to see anything else more than a two-party system. So if you want democracy, meaning not only everybody gets a guaranteed vote, but that increased participation by uh, parties, the people on the ground have to accept it. And I think the mindset of too many Americans is that they're into the duopoly. They don't want to think. They already believe they're bombarded with information. Now you're gonna have now you want a system where 3, 4, 5, 6 parties can enter and provide more noise and really make the choice messy. A lot of Americans aren't ready for that yet.
Yeah, but I think the Republicans might be poised for that, given what happens in the Republican primary. If a certain candidate does not win, he goes over into the independent and he takes a sizable amount of that white populace with him. So
Mm,
now you're already setting that up. And I think it has to have some kind of anomaly, and that is Trump, to come in who already has a built in constituency that is
mhm.
willing to follow him over a cliff. They will go to that third party in a heartbeat if
So
things don't go the way that they anticipate with the Republicans.
so we're not talking something permanent over the next couple of decades. We're talking about maybe a 1 or 2 election cycle runoff. Because
Maybe.
once Trump, and I don't wish him bad, once Trump enters into the great beyond, will there still be juice enough for this other third party? Somebody else is going to have to come along and take it, and it's going to get weaker. I'm not saying it's not going to happen. I agree with you. In the short term, you'll see that. I guess I'm looking at a, you know, a 3-4 party system for the next 2 or 3 decades.
All right, so I'm thinking that is, I mean that there's a great potential for that, mainly because we baby boomers, we're trying to get into that last trimester and do whatever we can before we can't do anymore. You've got a young population that's coming up in with a very different experience than perhaps we had.
Hmm.
So I think that the climate is right now, given all that Trump has done and the potential of what he could do before he leaves. That man's going to have a legacy, and it's going to not just be. It was he blew the Republicans up. He's going to actually likely create another party with young people, even that will um, help that remain in perpetuity, if you will. So I'm kind of looking at, are we kind of asleep at the wheel, Black folks, when so much change is happening around us that we're still looking through a lens that potentially um, is not going to really get us anywhere? And Cornell, great, but Cornell is not that catalyst, in my
No.
opinion, from a Democrat standpoint to siphon voters off. But Trump is,
So
and he potentially can um, create a movement of such that makes finally a third party candidacy viable.
the problem, once again, let me go back to the rules of the game. If you don't know the rules of the game, they're not going to let you in. The Democrats and the Republicans have it rigged where third parties have to get so many votes and so many write-ins and so much money and so many other things in every state. So, for instance, the Green Party is on the ballot in maybe 10, 15 states. They're not all across the United States, so
Again,
they don't get a chance to count. When the Democrats rigged the nomination so that Joe Biden got to be president, when Bernie Sanders should have been president, that was the best time in the world to create this party that you're talking about, Jeanette. And yet, what happened?
everybody fell in
Ber-
line.
Bernie Sanders fell in line.
Right.
Every other Democrat with him. In fact, several of the young people got very disheartened
Right.
once they said, "You sold out, Bernie. We had a chance to twist their arms and make this thing work, and you gave in to the power structure." And that's what happens when you flash money and power and position. And they even threatened Bernie Sanders and said, if you don't get in line, we'll make it so hard for you, you'll never do anything serious again, even though you may hold your position as senator up here on this hill. So I don't see Trump even creating a third party because he still does not control the rules for voting. And that rule says the Democrats and the Republicans will make the rules on how this process is carried out.
I'm not sure that I get the rules, but I kind of feel like, yes, learn the rules of the game. That's true. I agree with that. But then you've got to get in there and begin pushing the envelope. I mean, look at Trump today. Who would have ever thought
Right.
that this man would be running for the presidency with 2 indictments under his belt and 2 more coming down the pipeline, and ending up in Florida with the same judge that screwed us over the first time that he was here, under scrutiny. So how does that happen except the rules of the game um, are malleable enough that if we could figure out, some third party group could
Yeah.
figure out how to get in the game and start moving those rules around and pushing,
Right.
or
Right.
doing
How
what
do you do that? How do you do that before
Yeah.
2024, Jeanette? How do you do that before 2024?
it's going to happen before 2024, because it's happening right now, is all I'm saying, but it's happening from a Republican standpoint. not from ours.
Nobody's pushing the rule. They can get all the voters that they want. They can threaten all the people that they want, and that still won't change the rule when it comes time to put people on the ballot. That's what I'm saying to you. That's the rule that I'm talking about, the master rule. The Democrats and the Republicans have it so that they can give themselves a raise if they want to. We don't have the choice of coming in and saying no. They have the choice of determining when things start and when they don't, how you count the votes. They have a choice of even, they're the ones who rigged the, what's that college? The Electoral College.
Yeah.
You know, because it used to be if the four of us was on one electoral college, if Jeanette and Mona liked somebody and me and Alton liked somebody different, then they could take their votes and split them in each state. And that's how they would come out, and then they would count the votes and count. Then somebody said, "Oh no, it's got to be winner take all, because if we don't do that, then we're gonna lose." And the guy who passed that rule, the Democrats, they said we're gonna pass this rule that says winner take all. And because in fact, I read an article that said Obama would have lost had it not been winner take all, because the way they were splitting down the sides, enough votes had split, he never would have been a candidate. You see, so those are the rules I'm talking about, not what's right and what's wrong, not what's good or what's bad, but the rules that have been established to dominate and control this process called elections.
I would advise that where first blacks can forget influencing the national vote. That's all that hype out of South Carolina. Oh, see, we didn't. No, it's a bunch of hype. Because after, for example, when Biden won the South Carolina primary, the black vote, the black voice was nary heard from after that. Once the primary elections, for example, leave the South, that's it. You don't hear about black people. But that should tell black people something. Going back to Albert's point, I would recommend, we're not going to write a parliamentary system into the Constitution, but you can act like you've got one. So blacks in the Southeast should consider forming their own third party. I think Mona made that point a couple of weeks back. You form your own party, knowing that you're not going to win any national elections. We're not naive. The point is to have the Democrats and the Republicans cater to you. See, that's the mistake blacks make. Blacks are looking for government or for the electoral system, I'll go a little broader, to do something for them. No. You need to do something for them, but not forcing them to do something for them.
Yeah.
So you want the two parties to cater to you at all times, 24/7. And that starts with, well, we have a party over here. We're not going to win any national elections, but we're here to upset the apple cart. And you can only import so many immigrants and turn them into Anglo-Saxon Protestants. You have to deal with us. So if you got 12.9% of the population, applying that kind of leverage, somebody's going to react.
Right. Except that has already been done. We watched the far right wing of the Republican Party not necessarily leave the party, create a new party. They did it right there within the party. They wielded that kind, they continue to this day, wield enough power to wag that dog. And I'm saying, whether we create a third party or stay in the Democrat Party, the problem is coalescing and coming around and wielding the power as one voting bloc. That to me will pretty much speak to anybody, no matter where you are, whether you're within a party or not.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not sure, because I totally believe something's happening around us, and when we get woke, it will be too late.
Well, you see, you're feeding my strongman theory, and by that I mean, first of all, I think there's a myth about white people that they move as a collective. They do not.
Well, they haven't, certainly in the last, I would say, 5-6 years.
Yeah, I'd say they haven't moved like that since the West was won.
All right.
And this is what I mean.
Talk to me about that.
You know, they came, you know, the 30-second version. Some Anglo-Saxon said, pray tell, we need to expand it to many bloody, dirty occupants of the cities. We got to give them something to do. Well, this guy, this Italian slash Spaniard found some joint over there called North America. Let's ship him. See, so some leader gets up and says he's going to give some of the elite a charter to go and settle. But then
Right.
some leader gets up and says, you know, we are a people. They went ahead and they did a Led Zeppelin. They did an immigrant song. And they sang the song to him. And they said, you know, we can get together with that. And they all moved. And then they said, when we get here, oh my, you see these red people, they're inferior to us. Let's clear them out because we're the greatest. That's right. We are the greatest. So they cleared them out. You need a strong man in the black community that says, look, this is the one or two issues we got to circulate on. They
Right.
don't like us, so we don't have to deal with them. We're here in these cities, whatever southern city you're in, New Orleans, Atlanta, Jacksonville, Miami, Charlotte, wherever. This is the script. You follow it. We take these city elections, we take these county elections, we take these state elections. We control these states. We're not going to win nationally, but we can upset the electoral college. We can do these things, and you have these parties cater to us. But moving as a collective, no group moves as a collective unless you got them few archons on the top that says that point, and they create a narrative. And right now, the narrative that blacks in this country have today is, I'll be nice, it's weak. I prefer to say non-existent. You can't go on with the, oh, we were master, we were slaves, blah blah blah. That shit won't work no more. That pain and suffering narrative don't work anymore. Young people don't buy into it anymore.
No, they don't.
The old heads are like the ones pushing it. Well, you know, when Martin was alive, Martin's been dead for 55 years. Don't even mention RFK. He's been dead for, those days are gone. So there needs to be a brand new narrative, and you need a few strong men, strong women. I'm not talking strong in terms of, you know, she's a strong sister. No, I'm talking bust heads. I'm talking Harriet Tubman pull out that revolver and say, I could have saved 3,000, only got 300 a year. If you don't want to come with me, I'm going to shoot you. That's what blacks need. But blacks, the collective notion, I've been spinning around in my head. The collective does not work. Collective has to be formed and pushed, or else they won't go anywhere. You know,
So that brings me back to why I'm going with
yeah,
my boy.
Oh my God. You keep saying that every week. I'm gonna have to.
you got Trump?
No,
DeSantis?
Howard.
Wait a minute. Do I need my red? Where's my red sweater? I need to put my red. I got blue on by accident today. This is an accident.
Hell no.
Where is my red sweater? I'm gonna get off this thing for about 10 seconds and go get my red sweater because you don't want to act right, Jeanette, and buy into what the man said. He telling you the answer. I'm telling you.
I just gave $1,000 an hour worth of info.
Right. Yeah. And you won't listen. So I'm gonna go with somebody who's organized, who's serious enough, who got somebody who's hard-headed enough to make this thing work and get the elections over with so we can get some stuff done. You know? Now, up until that point that I vote, I'm still gonna be pushing Cornel West also. That also is an anti-democrat thing. It is. You know, I'm just saying at this.
I'm
Hold
not
up.
disagreeing with you.
Hold on.
Nothing you are saying. I don't like it. I just don't. Just
You don't see what?
Just go. Finish that point you're making.
Okay, my point is very simple. At some point, somebody is going to grab Cornel West in the corner and say, "What do you want
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
to go away?
Yep.
What do you want
Yep.
to get out of here so we can get on with this game that we play, Chevrolet
Right.
against Ford?"
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
That's what they did with Kamala.
Right. Yeah. What do you want to do all of that? And then that's when he has a chance to say, okay, here's a chance. Here are the things I want. I want better salary. I want better this. I want better that. I want better this. And if it's not spoken in the platform, I'm not going to go away. You see,
Mm,
if he
mm.
and at that particular point, then he has some pull to make what Alton is talking about. He's got some power so that what is it? What do you call them people up there? CDCs now.
Oh, the CBC, the congressional.
The congressional Negro what are them boys called up there? Huh?
Congressional Black Caucus.
Yeah, the Congressional Black Caucus. Maybe they'll start standing up and demand some of these things because right now they're not. They're not. I don't even think that they're even functioning.
That's true.
Yeah,
And then to make it worse, they have the nerve to keep the Republican black folks out of the Congressional Black Caucus,
Saw
which
that.
I have always thought was
it's dumb.
counter.
Yeah.
It is counter to what we talk about equality and rights and everybody's fair and all that. They ought to be up in that room too, saying these are the kind of things that we're pushing as black folk.
Mm.
Okay, now until the Congressional Black Caucus comes alive and start doing something, I'm gonna push Cornel until he gets whatever it is he wants, and then after that, I'm gonna put my red sweater on, and I'm going down there, cause y'all ain't gonna act right. Y'all gonna wake up and still be singing "We Shall Overcome Someday."
Mm.
Okay, the someday is the part that I'm mad about. Okay, that's the part that I think we have wasted too much time on. And any motivational speaker will tell you that if you don't have a direct goal, a direct purpose, and you can quantify what that is, you'll never reach that goal. So you saying I'm gonna get to heaven one day, you can say I'm gonna be rich one day. That ain't good enough. You got to say I'm gonna make $1 million selling this within the next year. That's standard operating procedure. Same way with us. We've been messing around with that. We shall overcome someday.
Right.
Yes.
Deep in my heart.
So to your point on Cornel West, let's go back to Cornel. He is making a move that potentially could be like what MAGA is doing, or has been doing since Trump burst onto the scene, which means if everybody gets behind Cornel West, that's giving Cornel some power, so that when he does come to the table and they're saying, what can we do for you to get you to go away? If he's got this legion of black folks behind him, now we're talking. So there needs to be that catalyst, that something out there. And I before I said Cornel ain't the catalyst. Cornel could be the catalyst if black folks line up behind him, as you say, and that they stop him and say, what can we do for you to get you to go away or to bring us your constituencies back into the fold, if you will.
Mona, you want to jump in? Or?
Yeah, Mona.
Well, I say he is going to be a disruptor. I don't want him to go away. I think he will push Biden in the right direction for blacks, and not just blacks, because Cornel, he doesn't really fight for just African Americans. You know, he's for the underclass, and so he's national as well, and that's the only thing. But I'm hoping that he do just what you said, that he goes, the George Ford bill, got to get passed, the voter rights, all of our issues that he could push. And then I wouldn't go away. I would request to be a part of his cabinet.
Well, yeah, that
We need someone to stay on them.
he's not going to win, but he can disrupt and get more black issues on the platform. That's what I think I'm hearing you say, Mona. I don't know if that's what you're saying, Albert. You got me into the Cornel.
That's exactly what I'm saying.
Corner.
That's exactly what I'm saying.
I say I'm going to support Cornel till it's time to vote, and I'm going red. Okay, that's what I'm saying.
Oh my God, you went and put on a red jacket.
Yeah, he got on his red.
I'm telling you, I ain't playing with y'all. See, y'all until y'all get serious. Do y'all get it? Ain't gonna make no difference. I'm telling you, when you're in the desert and it's 100 degrees or if it's 105, ain't much difference between one or the other. It's hot for us, and that's the problem that we've got
Right.
here in America. It is hot
Right.
for us.
So it's time
And
for us to get in the game, learn the rules, like Alton
Yeah.
said, learn the rules, and then go in there and start playing. And maybe the person that's playing at the table on our behalf is Cornel West.
he's won because the CDC, the CBC certainly isn't.
Yeah, the
Okay.
CDC ain't. Yeah.
No. Congressional Black.
Black miss us.
Yeah, I'm trying to find another word that really accurately describes what they do. You know,
They
So-
oh, I shouldn't be this bad. Oh, I'm terrible. I did one function with them, and the only reason because I was under contract, not with them, but with my client. So Alton, we need you to go. I said, okay. Who's doing it? It was CBC. I'm like, oh Lord. I said, okay, I'm a good trooper. You paying me, right? Yeah, okay. But
Yeah. Do they do anything else but party, Alton? Do they do anything other than party in DC every year at the same time? I got buddies from here in Atlanta. They love to go up there to
They love to go
party
up
with
there.
the Congressional Black Caucus. What do they do?
I lived up there for 9 years and I refused. But they well, they do party and that's what they're known for. They've got a foundation that will put on panel discussions like the one I participated in. It's a hot policy issue, but you have to be suspect of those because CBC Foundation means that somebody is funding you, and whoever's funding you is pulling the strings.
Yeah.
So I'm like, I knew why I was there. I wasn't doing that for too long, but I figured it out real quick.
Yeah.
That the money is coming from somewhere. They've got different speakers, but they got an agenda, and a couple corporations had an agenda, and they said, "Hey guys, going to put on a little forum and get these speakers. Get that Alton Drew guy. Yeah, he's safe. put him up there." So yeah, but no, they are well, like Mona pointed out a couple months ago. They're part of this boule leadership that just needs to be ignored. They serve no purpose.
So now they've gotten too sophisticated for black folks. They don't represent black people anymore. They represent a small handful of people trying to become those people that we're fighting against to get what we need. Is that what I hear you saying?
Yes, that's a good way to sum it up. They haven't represented black people since Shirley Chisholm. I mean, I'm pushing. That's going too far. I think really when just as a side note, when Bill Clinton corporatized the Democratic Party, the CBC went along. Because if you look at the Democrats, even when Chisholm formed the CBC, the Democratic Party still, at least on the surface, represented labor. They represented the working guy. But when that changed, that also meant a change, I believe, in the sourcing of the money. So once you go corporate, then you got to start catering to corporate. And I think that's what again, just speculating, that the CBC found itself in that boat. So they played along with the rest of the party. Oh, that's what y'all doing? Okay, we'll do it too. We don't have a choice. We're a part of you. So.
Well, I think we all agree CBC is not leading, and that we need to find that titular leader somewhere. And Cornel has raised his hand. He has raised his hand.
But you see, he's a part of that elite group too. I'm sorry. He's an academic, and from what I've seen on his resume, he never even set foot in an HBCU. I mean, Union Theological in New York, I think. I had a cousin who went there, and everybody else was Yale, Princeton, and Harvard. That's probably what he's going to ask for too. He's going to want his tenure back.
So to Mona's point, he's not necessarily married to black issues for the sake of black issues. He's married to the
underserved.
And that's so that gives him that mass appeal that maybe Obama had up here, he could potentially get that down here, where he can garner enough of a following that gives him a seat at some table where they're asking him, what do you want that allows you to bring those constituencies back into the fold? And I think that's what we need at this point is a groundswell kind of a movement, a grassroots movement, and it could be through him. Now, I did go to the FEC to see who, in fact, has filed for the presidency, and of course, all the usual suspects that you see on TV every day. There's some 300 or so people.
300 people have filed for president.
For the presidency, some using pseudonyms, but it's there's 300 filings for the presidency. Cornell's not there yet because he's just announced it. He hasn't actually filed with the FEC. But there's a whole bunch of names for the 2024 president. So is he one of those names that will never register and nobody's going to take seriously? Or is he going to be able to break through with a following and a message that resonates? That's the question, because there's a whole lot of
So who did you see on that list that you would even sit down and have dinner with or something?
None
Is
of
anybody worth anything on that list?
No, that's just it. They were like ex-governors, former senators, some businessmen, some people who were obviously playing around with a pseudonym, a fake name. But there was a whole lot is the point. And then you find your usual suspects that are listed on TV every other night. So I imagine that happens a lot. Does Cornell register as one of those yahoos, or can he actually build some type following that makes people pay attention?
Well, if the question is from an operational, logistical standpoint, there are a whole bunch of strategists in DC that are willing to help. The other part of the will can he afford not to file now, given he's come out, he announced on Tavis Smiley's show, he announced on Twitter, he's got a CBS saying, "Hey, Cornel West is running." I was like, "Oh Lord, if they're announcing it, then the question becomes, do you embarrass yourself and not run? Do you look like a fraud, or do you cap off your legacy by at least going out there and trying and take?" He's used to taking messages out on the road. I mean, him and Smiley did that poverty tour a few years back. So he likes to talk,
right?
And he's a great orator. So that won't be a problem for him.
Now let me add this point in. Dr. Umar Johnson suggested that, as honest as he is, he might be the pawn in the game that's there to energize the black vote and get everybody excited. And then when they turn around, they will by default say, "We don't have anybody else to vote for, so let's go back to old Joe." You see,
that's true. Or, as I said, he does pull in the black vote, push our issues, and hold on to those black voters until such time we get a seat at the table. He could play the game either way. But you're right. Umar said that, and I was like, "Yeah, that's a good point."
Yeah, now I've watched Cornel West on several debates, and I didn't watch him to necessarily watch his conversation because his speeches are pretty well the same. But I watched him to watch the audience to get a feel for what the audience, how they were perceiving him. And I see that they may think he's an intellectual. I'm not sure at heart they believe in a Cornel West. The crowd that he talks to, which is the middle class, the multiculturalists, the people who want to sit around and break bread and talk about the good old days and how we used to do this together and do that together.
Yeah.
You see,
Yeah.
he seems to have that crowd, and that crowd to me has always been an undercover conservative group. The old hippies, go back and look at the old hippies and look at them now.
Yeah,
That's
they're
your
conservative.
conservative grade.
Yeah.
That's your conservative ones who
Yeah.
cut their hair, went to
Yes.
work for their daddy,
Yes.
went to work for their family,
Yes.
and now they're enjoying the fruits of that generational wealth.
Yeah. Yeah.
You see,
Yeah.
and they went like, okay, that was fun.
Mhm.
You know, that was fun. Jimmy Carter talked about that. When Jimmy Carter got to be 12, 13, his daddy said, okay, you've been playing with this little black boy in the field. It's time for you to go take your rightful place in the world, and made him lead that black boy. You see? And that's what I see, that a lot of the people that seem to sit and listen and smile with Cornell have that same kind of attitude.
Yeah.
This is a pastime, and even if you make sense, I am getting ready to inherit a lot of money, and I'm not giving that up for nobody. Now that's what it looked like to me.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah, I saw plenty of that in law school. There was one couple in particular. I said, yeah, sure. They just shabbier than me. You guys got daddy's money. But then when
Yes.
it's time for applying for them jobs, oh, he found a suit. And it ain't no suit from Goodwill. No,
Right.
no. So yeah, to Albert's point, yeah, and yeah, we've all encountered those types. Oh yes, oh my God, I feel what you people are going through. Oh, Cornell, they're intellectually dispassionate.
Yes. Oh, that's a good word. I like that. Yeah. They'll sit and nod with you. They'll
Nod
even
with you.
eat dinner with you, and go home and push that Republican lever on your butt too.
That's
You know,
right.
that's what I'm saying to you, and do it quietly and politely.
Yeah.
You know, so that's what we're fighting now. And our kids, our black kids, the new generation. What are they? X, Z, Y? What is that
Z.
new generation?
Z.
Yeah,
Yeah,
whatever
Z.
the Z's are.
Yeah.
See, and now they are starting to relating to those kids of those same people, because now they don't look as race at them as a major issue.
Right.
They're looking at the ecology. They're looking at dogs, and they're looking at all kind of other things other than what we looked at, and they see that as old school.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah. But you see, I get all that, and that's true. But I look at it, whether here or 1789, it's how much capital do you have? I have none. You got enough to live off of, where I have to work for you. That's the great wall. That's the great barrier.
All right,
Right.
I'm going back to the shift. You know, and this might sound Marxist or whatever, but it was predicted that at some point, um, the whole capitalist system is going to really meet its match in the proletariat or the po folks. They will come together and rise, and I think we're starting to see a shift. And the capitalists are afraid. They know it's coming. They don't want it to come, and they're doing everything they can from a political standpoint to stop that inevitable. They see those folks coming across that border. They see how that black folks are intellectualizing and assuming position. They are stopping it because they know their children will not be able to withstand it. I truly believe a shift is happening, and all of this mess that we're seeing is because they've got to fight, and they've got to fight hard to keep their inheritances, so they can pass it on to their kids who may not even want it.
Oh, I don't know about that.
What?
Oh,
Alder, what is she talking about?
let me do a William Shatner.
What is she talking about?
Stop.
Let me do a Captain Kirk.
I truly believe that, and I may not be here, but there will be this redistribution of the wealth in the United States, for however that
Jeanette,
wealth.
offer me $1 million and see what I'll do with it. Okay, I'm taking your money. Okay, I'm taking no. There's no child. I bet you
I
can't
don't.
find one
I
child.
think it's going to be in the. It's not even going to be something that I, as a recipient of my dad's inheritance, will have a choice in. I think that I think that the world will change in such a way that that's not even going to be a choice. And
Yeah, I
so,
think no, I see your, I see where you're going. This may happen, something similar to where you to where you're going. Western philosophy is too linear, and you got to get into the spherical. And what you're seeing is this shit's going back to the beginning.
mhm,
Those kids that you're talking about that you believe may give up their capital, they're not going to give it up. They're gonna take this stay at home drones dropping your shit off to eat at home mentality, right? And they're gonna sit on their land like the great barons of the that they see in their lineage that they can't escape, because when they go to school and they read property, the first thing they learn is, oh, and Lord Baron gave season to blah blah. So they look at that and they're saying, with this technology, I can allocate my capital from my house, i.e., family offices. Okay, they're gonna allocate that stuff from their house. They're gonna make all the decisions from their house. They won't need I agree also. They won't need corporations to allocate capital. They'll just hire out. Alba can give you a contract, Mona give you a contract, Jeanette give you a contract, and we're gonna be out there working. So they don't need all this infrastructure. So they're gonna be at home. But what they're gonna do is they're going to have they're gonna go back to serfdom. And that's how that capital reallocation is gonna look. They're not gonna we won't be, I'm gonna say we won't be the ones, oh, we got a little piece of the pie like the Jeffersons. We're moving on up. No, we're moving on. We're moving across. They're going to give you just enough data to manage and real estate to live on so that you can produce for them, because that is always the issue. I have the commodities. I have the capital. I'll feed you, Alton. I'll sell you oranges at a discount, but you're working for me. If you're not working for me, you pay full price. But they will always control they'll always control the primary resources. They're going to control the mining, they're going to control the fishing, they're going to control the farming. It just won't look like they're in control. They won't be wearing suits and ties going into banks. And banking also, they won't have to go into a bank. All they got to do is take their digital title, submit it to some digital clearinghouse, and say, I want to borrow 100 million euros so I could pay the guy that I'm buying wine from, that I'm bringing over here to resell. I don't need a middleman anymore. That's who those kids are gonna. Those are gonna be those kids. They're gonna be looking a little. They're gonna be looking different from their parents. They may even look poorer than their parents. But how they actually make their money, the basics of it would be the same. I have the capital, I rent some out, I have it extracted by Alton, and I give him a little something, something, and he goes back to his rented house and he gets up and he does it all for me again. Alton may even be on the computer, extracting all the data that I need to make my NFTs and all that shit and sell it and buy. That's what we're gonna see. That's where we're going to.
And by the way, Jeanette, for the record, you said that the people that are barreling over here from these other countries like Mexico, no, they're letting these rich people that Alden's talking about are letting these guys in to the country to work for cheaper dollars.
Yeah.
Also, they become beholden to the people who actually let them in. So we think that it's the Democrats letting them in, when in reality, it is they become more conservative the longer that they've been here, because think about it. They came from a country where they're used to making $1 a month. Now they're making $5 an hour. That is going from poor to rich in their world, and they thank the people who keep letting them in here. See, a long time ago, we could have stopped all that border stuff simply by charging the big corporations who hired these people and putting those people in jail, that would have stopped it. But we didn't do that because the plan all along was to let them in here so that they could add to the brown and the non-black, and we become black people lose our status as the major minority. You see what I'm saying? So we're losing, I hate that phrase, but the major minority. And so now we're losing our status, and we're going to lose it to the Asians and the brown people. That's who, because see, the Asians are getting ready to get their temporary white card.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
They
Yeah,
getting
they're
ready to
not-
get their temporary white card.
Yeah, they're in that provincial stage. Yeah.
That's true.
Yeah.
So guys, in the last 4 minutes, and Mona, I really do want to hear from you, but in the last 4 minutes, I'm going back to my question with Cornell a little bit. I'm going to kind of shift it, but Cornell's entry into the race, the presidential race, who does it harm? Does it harm Black folks? Does it harm Democratic Party? Who does it help? How does it help? How does it help? What would we say to a viewer, a Black viewer who's getting ready to vote in the 2024 election? Should they vote for Cornell or not? And if so, why? Mona, what do you think?
I don't think it harms anyone that he's running. And yes, I think we should vote for him. I think we should let the power to be know that when we have someone, like a Cornel West, that we will rally behind him as we did for Barack. Now, I believe if he become president, that he would do more for us than Barack did. That's my take.
Okay, I only have time for takes. What's your take, Alton?
My takeaway from this week and Cornell is,
Okay,
Dang.
I don't have time to comment even more than that. Hey, Albert.
All right, for me, Cornell is the man. He has the ability to say some things that need to be said. In the final analysis, if he can parlay that into some kind of serious resources for us, then it works.
Yeah.
That's where I see Cornell's position. Cause the day of election, I'm going red.
Okay. Except for that last point,
yeah,
you're actually making sense. So I'm going with everything but that. But you guys, lively, great discussion. Always love talking to you guys. We have hit the last minute, and I just want you to know this is, it's important that we leave our viewers with a message. And I think the message is Cornell, if Cornell is able to open doors to Black folks and get a seat at the table possibly, but in your case, Mona, become president and do things for Black folks. I don't know about that, but I do think
Yes.
that could be that catalyst for Black folks if we could line up behind them. All right, guys. See ya in 2 weeks. Thanks so much.